And Noelle.
Hi.
Hi. Where are you sheltering in place today?
I'm in Montville, New Jersey. We had to leave Crown Heights with my future in-laws and these beautiful decoy ducks. And it's beautiful weather out here.
What are some things that are bringing you joy in this time while you're sheltering at home?
I am reading quite a bit of fantasy, and that includes like fantasy from my childhood, like things I read that are definitively YA novels, and then like tomes that are like 700 pages long. So that escaping into fantasy is really giving me a lot of joy and a lot of inspiration, because it's hard to write.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're so excited to have you a part of the festival, and it's really exciting for me because the first thing that I worked on when it came in is we did, an 8-hour reading of this play. You're a resident playwright of the Playwrights Foundation, and it's wonderful for us to take it into the next step. And I'm actually curious if you would share, because some folks may have seen a reading of Derecho. What are you still working on? What are you hoping to accomplish in the festival?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I think the play is tricky because it's a 6-person ensemble play, and it's important that every character gets their full life and attention given to them. But at the same time, there's all of these things that I feel the need as a playwright to be an expert in. Like, despite growing up in the DC area, I feel like I need to be more of an expert in politics, and what it's like to run for office and what it's like to constantly be campaigning. I feel like there's the whole virtue of living through the storm. And even though I started writing this play while living through a storm, there are things that you forget, like things that, being trapped inside of a house remind you of. And so I'm really looking forward to kind of breaking open some of the structure of this play. I think that magical realism was mentioned before by some of the readers. And I think that is the key to the play. Those barrio moments really kind of hold the play open and we'll let it be what it needs to be. But right now I haven't figured it out. So I think there's a lot of, I'm really excited to kind of be challenged in a new way to discover how the structure can devolve in the way I want it to devolve, in a way that kind of leads to a new opening.
Great. And can you share with us a little bit more about what inspired you to write the play?
Yeah. So in 2012, the DC area, which is where I grew up, had a Derecho, which is a kind of crazy storm. And I was back home from college, an undergrad, and I was interning at Arena Stage. And it was the first time that I was kind of really closely observing, because I was trying to be a playwright for the first time in my life, how many different communities I moved through and how I code switched and how I operated to continue and uphold my citizenship of those communities. And I noticed that the way I operated in those different ways was really different. So because of that, those 12 pages I wrote, I then, back in the Bay Area, was a part of this amazing Latinx Playwrights Circle. And I brought those 12 pages that I'd written as like a 20-year-old into the room, and they were like, there's something here. And so part of that inspiration was, what happened now 8 years ago, but also like the community of writers and Latinx people that I was like in conversation with, to keep going and exploring, like, what does it mean to be a person of color, and what does that label mean, and how is that commodified for politicians, and how does that show up in our current society, and how can you do right by your community when your community is not a monolith. So yeah, that's a very long answer to your question.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
I love hearing about it. And what are you looking forward to this summer at the festival?
I'm really pumped to be working with Bay Area artists again. I've only been living in Brooklyn for a year, and I left the Bay Area to go to grad school. So a big part of what I'm pumped about is kind of being able to work with the artists that I have been working with, being able to like have them challenge me and push me, and also just kind of getting a sense of like being back with collaborators that I've just had for multiple years in a different and a heightened way, and in a way that we'll have like way more hours than we had before, and more resources than we had before to work on this particular play. So, and obviously exploring this new medium that's happening right now.
Right?
So,
yeah, I know it's going to be different for us all.